What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Formula One Gridlock podcast. It's the first episode of the 2022 Formula One season. I'm feeling great. I'm doing great. This is a great race. My name, of course, is Nathan Charles, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Chase Bozung. Chase, how does it feel to be back?
It feels pretty good. It snuck up on me. I'll be honest, it snuck up on me, but it feels pretty good to be back. I enjoy this podcast.
It feels great to be back. So, Chase, I don't think we need to chit chat about anything. We got to get into it. The Formula One, what was it called? The Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix has already finished. Excuse me, and it was a banger. I'm just gonna do a quick little rundown. We're just gonna do the top 10. We're gonna change a little bit from our last season of podcast. We're just gonna do the top 10s and the DNFs, right, Chase?
Yep.
So, number one, with the first victory in the 2022 Formula One Grand Prix season, is Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, going number one. Number two, his teammate Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Number three, Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. And number four, his teammate, the brand new Mercedes driver, George Russell, in fourth. Kevin Magnussen in the Haas in fifth place. Chase, we're going to talk about that. That's insane.
Yeah.
Haas all the way up in fifth. Sixth place, the former Mercedes driver, the shattered prince, Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo in sixth place. That's a good result for him. Seventh, Esteban Ocon in the first Alpine. Eighth place, the pocket rocket, if you've watched Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix, Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. And ninth place, Fernando Alonso in the second Alpine. And 10th place, scoring his very first points in his very first race in Formula One, is Zhou Guanyu, the Chinese driver for Alfa Romeo. That's fantastic. I'm super happy for him.
Yeah.
And how many DNFs? We had a couple DNFs.
Yeah.
Both Red Bulls go out of this race with engine problems. So Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen score no points, along with AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly.
Sister Red Bull. So not a good day for the Red Bull organization as a whole.
Not at all, Chase. All right. So let's get into it. We're going to do a quick recap of the race. Wait, no. I already did the quick recap of the race. We're going to do 3 winners from Chase, 3 winners from me, and 3 losers from Chase, and 3 losers from me. So we're going to do it a little bit differently than we did last season on the podcast, but this is the new format, and if you like it, if you don't like us, let us know. We're on Twitter at Formula One, at F1 Gridlock Pod. Chase, 3 winners. Go ahead.
All right. So the obvious winner is the literal winner, Charles Leclerc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm impressed by him, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think he did a phenomenal job. He held off Max, and despite whatever Max threw at him, he didn't care. And then once he got the lead back, if he lost it to Max, he just started pulling away every single time. Just, you could see the gap opening every single time. Phenomenal race by him. Glad to see him win a race again. I know it's been some time. And I hope this is a good season for him. I'm a Charles Leclerc fan, if I'm being honest. And then the other winner, Ferrari. I mean, it had to be said, 1-2.
Most definitely.
They did a phenomenal job. Everyone just, the whole thing, good job all around. And then the third winner is someone who I've never really had any personal connection to, I'm rooting for this guy, but phenomenal result. Kevin Magnussen on Haas.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Back in F1 and makes it known hey, I'm back. Oh, good race by him.
Absolutely. I mean, that Kevin Magnussen place. I mean, how can you not be happy for the guy? He loses his seat to the 2 rookies last year. Yep. Stuff happens and he's back and he's like, guess what? I deserve to be here. I don't deserve to be in IndyCar. I deserve to be right here at the top of motorsport, at the top of Formula One. And wow, what a drive.
Yeah.
My 3 winners, Chase. Pretty similar to yours. Ferrari, obviously, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically, I really wanted to take a look at Ferrari's team boss, Mattia Binotto. I think the guy, for a long time, has been saying, look, Ferrari fans, stick with us. It's coming. It's coming. We
Mm-hmm.
know we have a good car. When these new regulations drop, we've got a good car. And guess what, Chase? He wasn't freaking lying.
Not at
This
all.
Ferrari car is really good. I think this man is an absolute winner. I think he and that Ferrari team have created a potential championship winning car based on how it
Oh yeah.
looked out there on Bahrain. I'm not saying it's a shoot. I'm not saying Ferrari's a favorite for me. I still think Red Bull's a favorite. They just need to deal with some, reliability issues. But that Ferrari car is looking dangerous, and if they can keep up the pace that they showed at Bahrain, we could be looking at a brand new world championship at the end of a brand new world champion at the end of the season. And you know what's crazy about Ferrari is I couldn't tell you whether that world champion would be Leclerc or Sainz. They're both
Yeah.
such good young drivers. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
This Ferrari
Yeah.
team has set themselves up impeccably, and that is all due to Mattia Binotto at the front of that team.
I got some gossip about the car at the end of this podcast, so stick around for that.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. My third and final winner has got to be the FIA. This is what they wanted with these new regulations, with these new technical, regulations. They wanted cars that they wanted to close up the pack. They wanted to shuffle the pack around. That's exactly what they did. And more specifically, they wanted these cars to race better, to be able to
Yeah.
follow each other closer. And we saw exactly that with
Oh
Max
yeah.
and Leclerc going back and forth. I think it was around like lap 14 or 17. I can't remember where, but that was wonderful to watch. That was so good to watch. So the FIA is an absolute winner after this weekend for me.
Yeah, and looking at the top 10, I mean, you've got Ferrari there, you've got Mercedes, Haas, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, AlphaTauri, and that's 6 different teams, and half of them are mid-pack teams. I
True.
hate to say it, but half of them were mid-pack teams. Who's to say anymore at this point?
Who's to say? Haas could be up there fighting for third the entire season.
Honestly, if they keep it up like this,
Who knows?
that's the win they're looking for.
Well, maybe not third. I have a feeling Red Bull will jump back up, but up fourth or fifth? Geez, who knows?
Way higher than we've ever considered them.
Way higher. All right, let's talk on the down low, because there were some low moments on this weekend. I know, F1's back and we're all kind of riding that high, but there were some low moments. So Chase, give me your 3 losers.
My 3 losers. The obvious one, Red Bull. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know what happened. Things break. You can't have a perfect day every single day or whatever, but it's still a bad time to have both of your cars fail out for the same reason. One of them's in second, the other one's in fourth. That's tough. That's no good. And then, like I said, their sister Red Bull team, which we know that they do a lot with AlphaTauri to figure things out. That also had a problem, and that leads me in to my other loser, which is Gasly. I'm disappointed that he just got pulled out of that race by bad luck and car on fire. He was in 8th place almost the entire race. I think this is going to be his season that shows everyone else on the grid that isn't Red Bull, hey, I'm a really good driver. Look at me. I think this is his season to do that, and I'm disappointed that his first race he didn't get to do that despite being on track to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. When you talk about Gasly being a potential really, really good young driver pickup for any one of these teams, because it seems like Red Bull has really moved on from the guy. And I think that's unfortunate, but I think that presents an opportunity for all these teams with, say, an older veteran. I'm looking at Alpine with Fernando Alonso. He's not going to be there forever. Yes, he has incredible longevity, but you never know. I'm looking at, and I know this is crazy to say, but Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. I think Pierre Gasly is worthy of a Mercedes shot. If this might be Lewis's last season. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
that's wild speculation, of course, but the point remains.
Yeah, to throw something else on there, I think it's actually good that Red Bull is dropping. This is a little bit of a tangent, but we love them here. I think it's good that Red Bull is kind of forgetting about Gasly, because I hate to say it, Max is so young and so good, they're never going to pay attention to anyone else the way they pay attention to Max Verstappen. And I feel like with how good Gasly's been recently, they're just going to stomp his growth if they put him back on the main team. They're just going to be like, yeah, do whatever, just support Max. And it's going to ruin It's going to ruin it. So I think it's a good thing at the end of the day.
No,
Anyway.
I love that. I love that take, Chase. That is a fantastic take. And I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
My third loser
Hit me with it.
is an obvious one. If you paid attention, McLaren.
Oh,
what are you doing? 14th, 15th? I mean,
terrible.
Norris is one of the best drivers on the grid.
I think so.
Ricciardo's the late breaker, who was on Red Bull for years, and this is third place championship team last year. What is this? 14, 15. You switched places with Haas. I have no idea what's going on. I haven't looked into it. But wow. I don't know if they put all their eggs in one basket and that basket was the 2021 season, but wow. I'm so disappointed because I love those guys. I love McLaren. I love Norris. I love Ricciardo. It's just sad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a McLaren fan.
Mm-hmm.
I bleed orange. They're my team. They did finish fourth last year, Chase, behind Ferrari.
Oh, fourth
in the constructors, but they did not look like a fourth place team this weekend. They did not. They looked atrocious.
They didn't look horrible. Like a team to pay attention to.
That car looked undrivable, and we know how good their drivers are. So
yeah,
I don't know what happened. I pray to God it doesn't continue.
Yeah,
but they are a definite loser. They are a definite loser this weekend.
Oh yeah.
So for my three, you grabbed mine, McLaren, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Another loser for me has to be Aston Martin. This was not the start they had hoped for. They get a big influx of cash. They've got a certainly very qualified driver in Sebastian Vettel, who, of course, then gets sick. So now they have Nico Hülkenberg.
Who's a good replacement,
but he's never driven the car before.
Never.
He has not driven this car before. He places last, essentially, 17th.
Last out of DNFs, yeah.
Last out of the DNFs. And Lance Stroll doesn't do too much better. He's 2 points out of the points in 12th.
Yeah.
This is not what Aston Martin is a car manufacturer who expects greatness. They really do. This was not greatness, and it wasn't even close.
No.
This Aston Martin car, I think they expected to be much closer to the front of the midfield than the back, which is where they're at right now. So for me, they have to be a loser this weekend. They have to figure it out because Aston Martin has put a lot of money into this car. Same thing with McLaren. These teams have a good budget.
Yeah.
And there's been some financial goings on where, there's a budget cap now and these teams are kind of able to closer compete with Mercedes, and this weekend did not look like it. Did not look like they were doing that at all. My third and my final loser has to be Max Verstappen. This was tough for him. Was he going to win the race? Probably not. Was he going to get second? Probably.
Definitely, I'd say.
Second is pretty, pretty good for. And I tweeted about this on our Twitter account, but I think this year Max and Red Bull, but specifically Max, they've got a new pressure on their shoulders. They've got the pressure that Mercedes has been feeling for about the last 6 or 7 years. That pressure of repeating. It's you ask any or watch a interview or read an interview by any professional athlete that has been on the top of their sport for an extended period of time. They'll tell you how insanely hard it is to continue that level of success. And for Red Bull, it's a brand spanking new pressure. Most likely, none of this garage was around when Sebastian Vettel was winning his championships in the early 2000s. Most likely, other than Christian Horner. Yeah. But,
brand new pressure in the sense of they haven't felt it in a while, and a lot of them probably have never felt it. But yeah.
Exactly. I mean, look at that Red Bull garage. Most of those kids are pretty young. Most of those guys working down there are pretty young. And specifically for Max, he has kind of met he climbed the hill that is Lewis Hamilton. He climbed the hill that is Mercedes, and
which
now
is a massive hill.
it's a massive hill, and now he has to fight to stay on top of it. And this DNF has got to be crushing. And I know it wasn't his fault, but it doesn't matter. It
It's out
doesn't
of his
matter.
hands, but yeah,
It's out
still
of his hands, but
painful.
it doesn't matter. A guy like Max, I know, is just going to take this. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to see if Red Bull can come out swinging next weekend with, they got to have, this can't happen again for Red
They
Bull.
gotta fix it.
It can't happen again. This literally cannot happen again if they want to be serious title contenders at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Ferrari's going to be there. They're going to be there this year. You're not fighting with Mercedes anymore. Just Mercedes anymore. You're fighting with Ferrari too now. So for that reason, Max is my third loser.
It's a good choice.
I think it's a great choice. Let's take a look at the driver standings, shall we? Although, pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, not too much to calculate here.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 real quick is Leclerc, obviously in first with 26 points. Sainz in second with 18 points. And Hamilton in third with 15 points, followed by his teammate, George Russell, and Kevin Magnussen in fifth.
Kevin Magnussen in fifth.
Magnussen in fifth. Never thought I'd say that in the driver standings. I hope I get to keep saying it. This more than likely will change a lot. Obviously, with the Red Bulls double DNFing, I assume they'll get in there. But I don't. This really is if Red Bull can figure out their reliability issues, and I think they will. This, I think, might be the first real three-way vie for the championship we've had in a long time.
I completely agree, and honestly, I really hope that it is more than a three-way with teams, that is. Because we have people on the grid who can challenge this. They just need to step up and then challenge it. It would be hard because, like we've talked about, Ferrari's been working on this a very long time, and they've been talking about it, and their car is very good right now. Then Mercedes is the dominant king right now in F1, apart from the actual current king, which is Red Bull. So it's three giants, basically, is what I'm saying. But McLaren good, right? I mean, and then Haas right now is looking really strong car-wise. I mean, Nick Schumacher's 11th place right now. That's pretty good.
He did get hit. He got spun in the race.
That's an interesting situation.
He might have scored points to this race, to be fair to Mick. And I love Mick. I think Mick's a great guy.
I think he is too. I don't think he would have scored points. I really don't think that changed too much because that was really early on in the race.
It was early, but
Yeah, it could have. That's an interesting incident to me. But yeah. Right, I really hope it's 4 teams. I really hope it's a nail biter. Each weekend flips it on its head.
All right. Then let's take a look at the Constructors Championships. Obviously, we have Ferrari in first with 44 points, Mercedes in second with 27, and Haas in third with 10 points from Kevin Magnussen. And then Alfa Romeo in fourth, Alpine in fifth, all the way down. We had 4 teams scored no points: Aston Martin, Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull. Obviously, I would expect Red Bull to score some points this season, God forbid.
Oh, they definitely will. I mean, looking at the race, they're one of the dominant cars on the grid still. They're two of the dominant racers on the grid. They were definitely on track, and then just bam. Something wasn't good enough and ruined it for them.
Yeah. Look, I'm taking a look at the Williams because obviously the Williams did not score any points. You had Alexander Albon, Alex, score place 13th, which is not terrible for a Williams.
Yeah.
Nicholas Latifi down in 16th, though. He pretty much was last with Nico Hulkenberg down there.
That's interesting to me because I can't tell if Albon's getting better or Albon's just that good or if Williams is getting better. Because if Latifi had gotten further up, I would have said maybe Williams has a better car this year, or it's a more even grid, or both. But maybe it's just Albon's just pretty good still, because he wasn't that bad.
Albon is a very, very good driver. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of both. I think with the new ownership of Williams and their kind of, I wouldn't say resurgence quite yet, but at least they seem to be getting back into this foothold, into this mindset of like, we're not just gonna like lay down and accept our place at the
Yeah.
back of the grid. They actually seem like they're fighting to improve, which I really do appreciate. So I would expect them to score a few points here and there, but I don't think they're gonna be anything serious,
No, I think this is
later
another
on in the
climbing
season.
year for them. I think they
Absolutely, I
climb
think
this
so too.
year and use the knowledge.
What I still think that Nicholas Latifi is probably the worst driver on the grid. And I know that might be not that hot of a take, but I always kind of am like, okay, if you're a team that is trying to improve race in and race out, year in and year out, how long do you stick with a driver that you know is not good because he's bringing in money? And Latifi doesn't bring in as much money as some other people, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Nikita
As
Mazepin, who
yeah.
of course is not in Formula One anymore. Um, but you know, how much longer is Williams going to kind of put up with a driver that, in my opinion, feels inadequate and all kind of out of place in Formula One?
I agree with you that he's the worst driver on the grid. I don't have a full answer to your question, but my kind of opinion on it is you use the money for the time that we have it until we can get a superstar like George or Albon to put our name in the newspapers,
Sure,
and then maybe slowly start to pull away from that driver that we know is going nowhere.
sure, that makes sense. I don't know. It's just that's one of those rhetorical questions that I'm always kind of thinking about when it comes to Williams and their kind of like attempt to climb back up the grid, and it just seems like it's going to be years before they can put something decent together. All right,
Probably, yeah.
let's talk about the next race, Chase, because it's coming up already. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
The 2022 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's only the second time we've raced on this circuit. 50 laps, about 308 kilometers, which for your American audience, I don't know how many miles that is, but Lewis Hamilton set the fastest lap record, 130.734 back in last year. And I believe he also won the race. Let me take a look real quick. Yes, he did. He won the race. Lewis won the race. Max Verstappen in second and Valtteri Bottas third, which is what we saw a lot of last season. Merck 1, Lewis typically. Max number 2, and Valtteri 3.
Yeah.
Wow, Esteban Ocon had a decent showing. He got 4th. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I
Good for you,
remember that.
Esteban.
There's a whole controversy around him. Anyway.
There's a whole controversy around. So, Chase,
Mm-hmm.
let me hear your podium predictions for this next week.
My podium predictions are rough because it is raw in the new season.
Yeah.
Ugh. I think I think I think it's Leclerc 1 again. I think Leclerc is going to keep that. I think it's going to be Max 2 as long as Red Bull can get the crap together. And then I think it's Lewis 3 because Lewis is the reigning champ on this track that no one else raced, that everyone has equal footing on.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. So Leclerc 1, Max 2, Lewis 3. This year we are going to be keeping track of our podium predictions. I'm not gonna throw in Yuki Tsunoda to win it all as much as I did last season, because we're gonna keep track and we're gonna in next week's episode we're gonna take a look back and see how well we did. And I don't know, maybe we'll keep score, maybe we won't. Who knows? I'm a competitive guy, so I kind of want to keep score, but it is what it is. I am going to agree with you. I think that the Ferraris are going to continue their dominance, but, and this is a big but, I think that Red Bull are going to figure it out. I think Max is going to do super, super well. I think he's going to take first. And then I think the Ferraris are going to come 1-2. I think it's going to be the opposite of this week. I think it's going to be Sainz 2, Leclerc
Ooh,
3rd.
I could see that. That's a good prediction.
You cannot count out Carlos Sainz. He even
I
said
don't.
he was like, this was the toughest week I've had in a Ferrari. And he got freaking second.
Yeah, and well, he placed, what was it, fifth in constructors last year, fifth or fourth,
You mean
something. No, it'd be fifth
in drivers?
in drivers. Yeah, he placed fifth in drivers because it was Max 1,
Yep.
Lewis 2, Bottas 3, Perez 4, Sainz 5th, and that was a big thing.
Yeah, that's big. Carlos Sainz is not the second driver. There is no second driver at Ferrari.
And that's wild. It is wild that they are of equal skill and like it's functioning currently.
Yeah.
We saw how that last happened at Red Bull. Maybe Red Bull's just bad at handling it.
Yeah, maybe. Red Bull are they're a number 1, number 2 kind of team, whereas Ferrari are able to kind of work both angles,
which is
could
wild.
be interesting. Could be interesting. All right, Chase. We're just kind of. I know we have kind of already been rambling and ranting, but just give me some talking points that you think that you thought of that you're like, hey, we need to talk more about this because this is really interesting. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, we have not talked about the new cars because they weren't here last episode, and we didn't have an episode in between. I love them. They look beautiful. I already saw like a picture from last season of the old rear wing, and I went, ew. It's like this rear wing is beautiful, and the old one's chunky. It's blocky. It's stock car-esque, and I just love them. I'm not the biggest fan of all the colors. I will say I do not like Ferrari's color. It does not say Ferrari to me. It says Alfa Romeo, and it only looks good at like certain angles. Besides that, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think Mercedes is like wild, and right now they're gray, and then they've got like neon everywhere on the car. I don't think that looks good. I love Williams. The blue on Williams.
The Williams car looks really good this year.
Love it. McLaren looks pretty good. I love their color wave. Red Bull's the same. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
that's just some initial thoughts on the new car. What do you think?
Yeah, I do love the way they look. I think their designs, the much more like low to the ground aerodynamic. I love it. I tend to disagree with you quite heavily on the Ferrari design. I think it looks really good. I think it looks really good. I always took I never liked last year's. I thought it was just like they did the neon green thing for their Mission Winnow logo on the car, and I thought it just looked so tacky. It was this really cool looking red car, and then it just had this like bright green like WM on it. And I was like, this looks bad.
Yeah, I didn't like last year's either.
I much prefer this one with the darker red and the black. I love what the teams are doing with the black this year. It's the same thing that McLaren is kind of doing, and I love this McLaren like livery more than I ever thought I could love a car livery. I have always been a guy that never really cared too much about what the car looked like. I freaking love the way that this McLaren looks. It looks so good. Beautiful. It's just unfortunately it is looking good. It's just looking good at the back of the pack. Oh man. No, but you're absolutely right. I think that the Williams looks fantastic. The Red Bull's pretty much the same, and
Red Bull's not. I mean, the body of it's different. It looks the same color wave, same logo, same sponsors, all that.
I would love. Good, but, it still looks great. I would love for Red Bull to do a full white season, like
if they did. That is my favorite all-time livery.
It looks sick.
It's the best one that's ever touched the grid. It's that white and red and orange. Oh,
and it goes perfect with like Verstappen's helmet, because Verstappen always has like a white and gold helmet
with a lion on it.
Yeah, with the lion on it. It looked sick when he was in the white jumpsuit. I was like, why did the designers at Red Bull not just go, hey, I think we got something here. Let's just freaking go
Yeah,
for it.
run it for a season. I get it's not their, colors of the company, but run it for a season and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it would. Oh my gosh, I would love for them to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be
Aston
so sick.
Martin looks about the same, right?
Yeah, pretty much the same. But
I
I like that they got rid of the pink though. I know they lost the sponsorship, the BWT sponsorship, but the pink looks so tacky on that green car.
I honestly, I'll be honest, I'm colorblind, never noticed the pink. Just it all looks the same to me.
Really?
I'm
Yeah,
sure if I looked at it,
it had like the
I would
pink
have found
lines
it, but
going around it.
no,
It didn't look
it
that
just
good.
never stuck out to me, and I never picked up on it. So yeah,
That's hilarious. Yeah, but now of course the VWT is on the Alpine, so we've got another pink car. Which I'm like,
that's
VWT, come on! Why are you ruining all of these beautiful liveries by throwing the pink on it? It's like the pink doesn't go with anybody's color scheme.
yeah. I don't like Alpine. I think their color wave
No,
was
I don't
better
like it
last
either.
year. The
It
black and
was. It was
blue.
so much better last year.
I mean, let's see. I'll be honest. I don't know if I can really say I've seen Alfa Romeos.
It looks pretty similar to last year's. I think it looks good.
Oh
They
yeah, that's
also
good.
they
That's a good.
also implemented some black
Yeah,
into their like uniform design and their jumpers. So
I pulled
um
it up. It does. It looks relatively the same, but it does look better
yeah,
because the
it looks
car
good.
looks better. It's sleeker. It's nice. It's not bad.
I think the best car though on the grid is the McLaren. I love that car. It's
I,
like it's nice and boxy. They threw plenty of black on there. They didn't wimp out on the black. Like it just looks so good.
it's
Oh,
between a McLaren and Williams for me right now. I think Williams. It's just so good looking.
the Williams does look really good, but the
It's such a
McLaren for me,
good blue.
the McLaren gets it for me because like the Williams is still pretty similar to last year's. It's just an
That's fair.
improvement. This McLaren looks so different from last year's, and that's what I freaking love about it. Is
Yeah,
it's
I
not
can
even
see that.
close to last year's. I mean, obviously the same colors, but even then, like there was not this much black on last year's
Yeah.
McLaren.
What do you
Looks
think
so
about the
good.
wheels?
I was very interested about the wheels because the commentators while I was watching the race noticed or not noticed, but mentioned the fact that the wheels were heavier. And
Mm-hmm.
so they would expect pit times to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
I
they
was like,
were.
which they were, which I was like, that's really interesting. And I was like, how heavy are the wheels? And I looked it up. They're about 50 pounds a piece.
What were they before?
I'm not sure, but they were lighter than that. And I was like, wow, like that 50 pounds is pretty sticking heavy. If you've ever tried to lift up a
Yeah.
50-pound like bucket of water, which most of them probably don't get that heavy. I mean those things are heavy. I gotta give a hand to those mechanics having to pull those things off and put them
Yeah.
on.
I mean, if you look
Mamma
at
mia!
pictures, those back tires like actually look really fat now
Yeah, they're
comparatively to
big.
the front tires.
They are absolutely massive.
Yeah, longer pit times. That was one of the things I wanted to mention. Pitting
Yeah,
was interesting. The fastest pit time I saw was 2.5 by Ferrari, who also got a 2.6, which was pretty neat. And then like up to 4 on some of these people. 4 seconds in a pit. That's ages comparatively to
yeah,
what it was.
yeah. It used to be like if you were over 3, that was a bad pit stop. Now
Like
your
terrible.
average, yeah.
Yeah.
Now your average is like 4, so that could be
So they
interesting.
used to be like roughly at most 24 pounds.
That's not too bad at all. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not compared to
double the
50
weight.
pounds. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only thing, let's see. Oh, I wanted to mention here's the Ferrari car gossip.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw. I mean, validity is always a thing, right?
Sure.
But I saw talk that, and it's apparently the source is Car Sport, whatever that is. I'm sure it's
I've heard of that before.
reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna read the full quote, but basically, the car is pretty light. It is 10 kg, which 10 kg is like roughly 20 pounds, lighter than the RB18, the Red Bull car. And then there's talk that it's not at full power right now, and they are slowly going to increase its engine performance uh, as like they determine its reliability with the engine.
Schnikes.
And let's say it gets better. That's rough because it's already like for me right now after one race, best car in the grid.
Certainly the fastest on the straights.
I don't know. I think I would completely disagree with you on straights because there is a time where Max just absolutely with DRS closed a 1 second gap really fast.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know about
Yeah,
straight line
maybe
speed,
not.
but I mean Leclerc pulled away from Max
Yeah, he
on
did.
multiple
I
occasions.
think I think rumors like that are kind of, Ferrari has a big fan base.
Yeah,
They're very Italian. They like to
yeah.
gossip. I don't know if I agree with that. I
There
I
are
also heard something similar, like Leclerc's engine was in like a conservative mode,
that. Yeah, that's basically what they said
and
with
I'm
this.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, do you really?
It wasn't conservative, but it might be conservative in the sense of the word as a whole, not actually in like a mode. Because here's the
Sure,
thing.
sure.
We know that Ferrari has been waiting for this for a long time and it got pushed back further, which made their plans even take longer,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Ferrari is like they have the most championships. They've been around for 70 years. They make phenomenal cars. So, and we know that their engine's the good thing, right? What was it, 2019 season or whatever, where absolutely dominating, failed a regulation, and then just fell completely off.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm with you. It's a grain of salt type thing, but right now it's the best car in the grid in my opinion.
I
So
think so too. Could be
if
scary.
they can improve upon that, which big teams can do throughout a season, we'll see.
Absolutely. All right, Chase. I want to talk about McLaren a little bit more. They're my
Mm-hmm.
boys. I
Yeah.
love them. I love Zach Brown. I love the team principal Andreas. I love Lando. I love Daniel. I love all those guys. What happened? What do you think? What happened? What happened?
Well, this is just pure speculation from me. This is just I've not read anything. I have not watched any videos. I haven't seen anything about what happened. The only thing I can think of is that they just oh man. They just I don't know if they underestimated their opponents or if they just simply couldn't do it, but something is wrong with the car. And I can confidently say that because I know there are two good drivers sitting in the car.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the better of the two drivers is behind 2 seconds behind Ricardo. Norris is 15th place. So it's easily something with the car. I don't believe it falls down to strategy because what kind of strategy do you have in 14th and 15th place? Oh, you try and get up to 11. Not to demean anyone here, but you see my point.
Yeah.
It's not the same strategy as hey, we're in second, we need to get in first. So I think it's car related. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's top speed. I don't know if it's the way it handles, but it's not good. What do you think?
Um, I'm with you. I think it definitely is car related, but I am just, I'm like, I'm taken aback as to how bad it was. How bad
Yeah.
it really was. This was not at all what I had expected. I couldn't, never in a million years. I'm a betting man. I never would have put money on a future that said McLaren's going to start out the season 14th and 15th. I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
At worst, this team is, based on last season. At worst, Daniel's like maybe a spot or two outside the points, and then Lando's like in the mid pack. At worst,
Yeah.
obviously unforeseen like crashes and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But
excluding
for
accidents.
for both of them to be well outside the points
And
and
next to each other. There's
and
no
next to
cars
each other,
facing them.
I'm I'm just, as a McLaren fan, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that this car is a bad car. I refuse to believe that.
I
I
don't know.
think this team this is a good team. This is a team that's been on the up for the
Yeah,
past probably 4 seasons, ever since they
I
had that
agree.
first pairing of Carlos and Lando. This is a team that has been on the rise for the last 3-4 seasons. You cannot tell me they did not have the wherewithal to put together another decent car here. I'm just, but
I
you
don't
have to
know.
tell me that.
Yeah,
So,
I think it is a decent car, but maybe it's either a decent car that had a really bad problem, or it's just not a good car. Because we're talking
oh man,
McLaren is being beat by both Haas cars.
yeah,
One of whom is a racer who just came back into Formula One. The other is on his second year in Formula One. This this should not be happening.
no,
So yeah, it's, I mean, like you said, this is, ooh, the only reason McLaren was talked about this race was to mention how bad they were doing. There was
I
nothing
know,
else
which is
worthwhile, which is sad. I love the
yeah,
team. They're a good
I like
team.
them too.
I want them to be up there. I want them to be the team that's contending the two other teams. But who knows? Red Bull had arguably a worse car because both of them DNF'd.
True,
So
true, true. The Red Bull is technically worse than the McLaren.
yeah. So yeah, well, let's hope
Oh
they get their
man,
crap together in on the Jeddah circuit. Because wow,
I
I
hope so too.
if this is the season, if this is a precursor for the season of McLaren, I don't want to watch. I don't
I
want to
don't want to
watch
watch
that,
either. I don't want to
car
watch it.
burn. Because
No.
wow, that'll be
All
painful.
right, let's talk something a little bit more positive, but also a little bit more, uplifting than McLaren. Let's talk about George Russell. I want to talk about this man. First drive as a real Mercedes driver, not
Yeah,
filling in for Lewis Hamilton. First drive, scores decent points, fourth place, right behind Lewis. But in my opinion, I lost him. I lost him. And that's not what typical George Russell does for me. Typically, I'm watching George Russell. I'm like, yo, there he goes. Look at him go. He just
I
he just put that Williams car in a spot that Williams car never should have been at. He just put that Williams car in Q3. Wow.
yeah, I agree
In
with you.
in my opinion, George Russell, and I love him. I love George Russell to death. He's one of my favorite drivers on the grid. He was utterly unremarkable. And I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. I don't know. Just dishing that. What do you think?
I agree. That like he placed well, but honestly, he's a passover. If I look at the top 5 or top 10, I'm not looking at Russell. I'm
Yeah.
literally I'll look at Sonoda or Alonso or Zhao, or sorry, I don't know how to say the name properly
Zhao.
yet.
Yeah.
Zhao.
Guan Yu
Um,
Zhao. No, Zhou.
Zhou.
Yeah. Guan Yu Zhou.
My bad.
Or Zhou
Anyway,
Guan Yu. I forget.
my point is now that he is in a good car,
Mm-hmm.
he has to do the amazing. Otherwise, I'm looking at the people who was him last season in a bad
Yeah.
car doing a good thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the thing. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe he is playing it a little safe at the beginning of the season, not trying to crash
Could
his
be.
car.
Could
Round
be.
one. Maybe he needs a better feel for it because he was in that Williams car for quite some time before he started to really take off. Right,
True. True.
and I just hope, and I hate to put this in the air, but we'll be all right. I just hope it's not a case of give a give a good driver a super powerful car and they underperform because the car's too good type scenario. Because we've
Mm.
seen that. I
Like like he's almost like afraid of the car.
yeah, to a certain degree, because like there is a scenario here where Gasly, I'm going to use Gasly as this example
Sure.
because, and I'm going to use his quote. I disagree with him personally on this, but I'm not a psych major or anything. Gasly has said that it was not the peer pressure that got to him at Red Bull. I personally disagree. I think it was subconscious. Anyway, that's a whole crackpot theory.
Yeah.
He went from one of, if not the most powerful car in the grid. Well, second most powerful car in the grid. To a mid-pack car, and then did phenomenally in the mid-pack car, pushed it
Sure.
to its absolute limit.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example of, like you said, afraid of the car. The car was too powerful. Take the car away from him, put him in a mid-pack car, phenomenal driver. So I
Mm.
hope that that's not going to be the case for Russell, because he went from second worst car on the grid to the leading best car on the grid, who could be anywhere at this point on the grid. So I hope it's not a case of the car's too powerful, because we've seen that, and I don't want to see that.
That's an interesting take. I hadn't thought of it like that. I don't know if I necessarily agree because I think
Yeah.
George Russell is. I don't know. I think George Russell is like a little bit more mature than even Pierre Gasly, in my opinion.
Mm,
I think that
define mature.
George Russell has, because of his time at Williams, he has he really went through this shit at Williams. I mean, that was a bad car for a lot of years, and he stuck through it. And I never heard him. I mean, he complained obviously, but he never really like
Mm-hmm.
there was never any complaining from George. He just kind of sat there and took it, and he did great. He did really really well.
Yeah.
So what I think, what I really think, first off, first race,
Yeah. Of
not a
course.
lot to go on.
Yeah.
So take this all with a grain of salt. But I think he really is just like this is like a culture shock. Like
It could be.
he's not used to being up here, and I know this is the dream, but you're up here now, and it's different. It's so different when you're at the bottom looking up versus when you're at the bottom when you're at the top looking down.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. You have to be in a different mindset. I don't know if George is there yet. I think he'll get there, and I can't wait until he gets there because George Russell is not Valtteri Bottas. He's not going to sit back and just let Lewis pass him.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, really, what I think is that Mercedes need to look out. Mercedes now have to manage their drivers in a way they never had to when Valtteri Bottas was their second driver. And he was their second driver. Because right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Oh, that was clear.
Mercedes right now has two number one drivers, and I don't know if they know it.
They know it. They're just going to ignore it for as long as they can, in the sense of, until Hamilton drops the ball, they're not going to actively jump on the fact that Russell could pick
Sure.
it up.
Sure. I think that playing it like safe is only going to get you so far, though. Especially when you've got two really good drivers like this. And I think that Ferrari have done it right, where they have literally come out and said there is no number one driver at Ferrari.
Yeah.
Both of these guys are young. Both of these guys are really talented. We're putting everything we have behind both of them. We're going to let them figure it out on track.
I also think, to a certain degree, that Red Bull got it right. Yeah, it was messy, but like after a certain point, they stopped taking the safe option of, here's our number one driver, Daniel Ricciardo, and they said,
Yeah.
this one's gonna be rough, but we're putting our eggs in the basket of this rookie, air quotes, and it worked out. And honestly, I don't see a future of McLaren with these two, or of Mercedes, sorry, with these two drivers where they do the same thing that Ferrari is doing. I think what Ferrari is doing is an anomaly. I don't think that a top running team can do that as easily as Ferrari's making it seem.
I think so too, yeah.
So
Especially if we get down to the last few races of the season and
yeah.
the guys fighting for the championship are both the Ferrari drivers,
Mm-hmm.
things are going to get tense.
Yeah. I think this sport functions on a number one, number two. I think Ferrari's an anomaly, and I think at some point Mercedes is just going to make that switch. Whether it's when Hamilton retires or not is up for the debate. But I think Ferrari at some point is just going to be like, yeah, it's George now. Sorry. Because
Yeah.
think about how many times they've wronged Valtteri Bottas. I'm not the biggest Bottas fan, but they have done my man dirty
Yeah, for
a
sure.
lot
For sure.
just for their number one driver. So I don't think Mercedes can do what Ferrari's doing. I don't think it's in their blood.
No, I don't think so either. I think you're absolutely right with that take. All right, Chase. Anything else?
Not yet.
All right. I think we'll call it good there. We're just about at 50 minutes. I think that's a decent length. So let's go your podium predictions again for next week are Leclerc number 1, Max number 2, and Lewis number 3. And then I had Max number 1, Carlos Sainz number 2, and Charles Leclerc number 3. Should be interesting. Once again, the next Formula One Grand Prix is in a week. And what day is that? That is the 27th of March. Looking forward to it. And hopefully we will have an episode up for you by the next day. We're going to try to record on the Sunday afternoons after each race or whenever we can, as soon as we can. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an ear out for those, not an eye.